What is going on, guys? Future world champion Bucky Roberts here, and welcome back to your second video of Chess Endgame for Beginners. And in this video, I'm going to kind of piggyback off the last video and show you guys how to mate with two rooks using the staircase pattern. So we already covered the staircase pattern in the last video with two queens, but in this video I want to show you how to perform it with two rooks because it's slightly more difficult when you have rooks. And the reason for that is because unlike a queen, the enemy king can actually approach a rook and capture it from an angle. So whenever we perform this attack or this checkmate pattern, what we want to do is we want to keep in mind that our rooks should be as far away from the king as possible because we do not want the enemy king to approach us. So with that being said, the core concept is the same. When we have two major pieces, in this case two rooks, against an enemy king, we first want to choose a side of the board and cut the king off so it doesn't enter this area. So one of these rooks is going to act as an invisible fence and the other one is going to be attacking it, pushing it to a side of the board. Now in this example, I'm going to be playing white, playing against black, and we're going to be pushing it to this side of the board right here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just hit done, finish setting up my position, and I'll hit this little icon, finish against computer. So now I'm playing white and the computer is actually playing black. So again, the first thing I said is that we want to keep the rooks far away from the king, looks good, and we also want to stagger our pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and first take this rook on c8 and move it down to c7. So now when they move their king over to d3, I already know that they really can't get past this area on the left. So they can never go to the A, B, and C file because this rook is kind of blocking that path. So now that this rook is acting as a fence, I can go ahead and bring the rook on A8 over to D8 and check the king. So now the king, we can kind of see is it slowly shifting in this direction, which is perfect. So now that the rook on d8 is closer to the king, this is going to act as an invisible fence, and I'm going to take the rook on c7 and move it over to e7, just like that. Now the king runs away, and it doesn't really matter where the king goes because it's trapped no matter what. All we have to do is continue with these rooks, keeping them staggered, and eventually when we get to the end on the g file, this is going to act as the invisible fence and we deliver the final blow with f8 to h8. So there you go. Now the last thing I want to point out is that whenever you are choosing an edge to push the king towards, you usually just want to say, okay, what edge is the king closest to? Now in this case, the king is closest to the bottom edge right here. So you may think that it might be the easiest to kind of push the king down from 3 to 2 to 1 until you just checkmate him. However, one consideration that you want to take note of is whenever you're choosing an area to push a king towards, or in other words, to confine the king to, you want to make sure that your king is not in that area. And the reason is whenever your king is in the area and you have your rooks on one side of it, this enemy king can actually escape by going out the other side of it. So what am I talking about? Well, let me go ahead and play this position. So I'm going to go ahead and set up first my rooks to be staggered, just like this. And let's say that this enemy king, I don't know, it doesn't really have a strategy, just one king. But we'll say he moves over here. So all right, I want to cut off this, and then eventually this, and then eventually this. So let's go ahead and with this rook, go ahead and cut off the third rank. However, if I move this king, you can see that this rank isn't actually cut off. Since this king is blocking this rook's path, this king can actually escape out here. And you can even see whenever I click here that this king is kind of messing up our plans. So just consideration, let's see if we can reset the position. Instead of trying to kind of push him off the bottom area, a better strategy would just be to push him off the right side right here. Even though it looks like a few extra squares, it's actually going to save you some time. So there you go. That is how you checkmate with two rooks. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I will see you guys next time.